for tonight's topic, marketing metrics. But first, and I'm Julian Williams, sorry, with the Chamber of Commerce. If you haven't met me, hopefully you haven't met me, you've been in the door, but I've met you before. But first I would like to introduce Daniel Oginski. He is our sponsor. He is the owner here of the Brighton Lighthouse and All Heart Garage and a gallery, and yes.
Well, I think many of you or most of you have heard me say this or know this, but yeah, my wife and I are the owners here and All Heart Garage on Rickett Road. We are a co-work meeting space. We also have programs for personal and professional development. And at All Heart Garage, we also have a co-warehouse part of that facility. It's really built for small businesses to have inventory or equipment to store, but also want access to shared space to use for work. And if you're a member, you can work there or here. So we're happy to host today and glad to continue this conversation on how we market our businesses. So with that, turn it back to Julianne. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. And are you going to do tours or somebody wants to tour?
Yes, I'm sorry. When we're done, anybody who wants to tour the whole space, I'd be very happy to show you.
Okay. I didn't want to offer up stuff that you didn't want. It's such a great space, though.
If you haven't done the tour, I
If you haven't
recommend it.
seen
It's
it.
really cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And so now I just want to introduce Sommer Poquette, the owner and founder of Keep It Real Social. So I'm going to let you go ahead.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me today. I came down from Petoskey, that's where I'm located. So I am the owner and founder of Keep It Real Social. We are a full-service marketing agency located in Petoskey, Michigan, but we do business all over the state and really wherever we have Wi-Fi. That's the benefit of owning a marketing agency and doing what we do. So I have family down here, very familiar with the Brighton area, and one of our employees lives in Brighton. So it's kind of nice to be joining the chamber to network and get to know people down here and hopefully expand our business and collaborate with other businesses down here as well. So I'm excited about this topic. This is a topic we talk about in my agency all the time. I talked about it at a podcast with you. We talk about it with our clients, and it's also one of those topics when you're talking marketing and metrics that seems overwhelming. How many people here think it's kind of overwhelming? Like we don't even know, like with metrics, what we should be measuring. Anybody feel that way?
No.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know all of you, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with each other. So if we could maybe start with everybody just really quickly saying their name and what they do, that'd be kind of helpful for me. So before I really dive into the presentation, that'd be helpful. Let me start here.
So I'm Abigail Hathaway. I'm new to the chamber. I represent Washington Community College. I'm the Program Development Manager of Corporate Training. So I'm here as a resource to help aid small businesses and individuals in gaining talent development. So I work with our non-credit courses. And right now we're launching a bunch of sales classes that can help with business-to-business sales and also business-to-consumer sales, and we're going to get the sales process outlined and offering some training on that. And also if any of your companies have individual needs, we can create and tailor programs to be able to offer for your employees or even for yourself to help with your businesses.
Thank you.
Hi. Not sure what that was, but
It wasn't you.
it wasn't me. Yeah. But I'm DJ Zelensky from Lake House Studios. We're a digital media design and marketing company. We do everything kind of like digital media design and print-wise, and we're here to help you grow your business any way we can, from using SEO, social media development, websites, video, photography, graphic design, anything within those mediums. That's kind of our wheelhouse. And yeah, I'm DJ from Lake House.
Hi, I'm Michelle from Engrave It All USA, and I'm an engraver, and I engrave pretty much everything.
We're great for marketing. Yeah.
Hello everybody, I'm Mike with Mitten Junk Removal. We are commercial and residential junk removal experts. Basically our service starts where your residential trash collection ends, so anything they can't handle, we can.
Awesome.
My name is Kira Klaczynski. I work at Executive Wealth Management. I'm the marketing and public relations specialist over there. So we're just right downtown, and I'm just here to learn more.
Awesome.
Go back or? Oh yeah, hi.
Sure.
It's fine. My name is Desiree Martinez. I am new to Brighton. I've only been here for less than 2 years and just getting used to being here. I run a marketing agency called All One Social Media, where we focus on video and online marketing. to help you get leads and convert them into dollars with a very heavy vertical video and YouTube focus.
Nice. Hi, Sandy Rockwell, Beauchamp Water Treatment Solutions. We do residential and commercial water treatment. So I am their marketing manager, public relations, community outreach, queen of all trades. So we can definitely help you with your water, and Sandy Rockwell, Beauchamp Water Treatment Solutions.
I'm April Gershon. I'm with the Livingston County Habitat for Humanity. I'm their development director, so I do all of the fundraising, as well as all the community relations, marketing, volunteer coordination, anything that nobody else does, I think. So I'm a nonprofit. That's
A lot of hats. My name is Joel Snyder. I'm a realtor with Canyon Realty, where our offices are right in downtown Howell. So I help people find and sell their homes.
Hey, I'm Brenda Lindsay, the founder of Mind Transformation, the Center for Mindfulness, Resilience, and Wellbeing. We help leaders, teams, and employees avoid burnout and develop resilience, and help leaders increase their focus by minimizing distraction and learning how to manage their energy.
Should have practiced that. Everyone needs to practice their elevator speak.
What is up? I'm Jason Tracy, Roar Consulting, and I work with solopreneurs that have a purpose, a passion, or expertise, and sales is not one of them. And I also have a podcast called Coffee and Grit that is about entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs.
Rob Johnson, I own Lane Media. We're in the Speakeasy Podcast Network in downtown Brighton. Convenient time for my voice to go up. Yeah, so we do all things creative. So we're consultants, strategists. So we have a team of graphic designers, videographers, web designers, developers that partner with businesses all over the country to help them do better at what they're not great at. So.
I like that. I might steal that.
My name is Sue Spangler, and I have business cards, but it doesn't have a title because I'm retired. I moved up here to Michigan from Georgia and North Carolina to be here for my folks who have lived in Michigan for 48 or 50 years. Me being a single one in a family, I feel like I needed to be here for them if and when I needed it, and I'm glad I have been. We lost my mom a couple years ago. She was the sweetest woman on this earth. And so I've been here for them. And I got involved with the Brighton Chamber because of Pam and all of staff. And Mom and I volunteered for
So many events.
yeah. And I got a call at 2:30 in the morning after the Barbecue and Blues Festival from one of Pam's staff and said, Sue, can you help us come clean up?
Oh.
I said, let me put some clothes on.
Thank you. Wow. Okay. Well,
You had no idea.
don't know who that is.
The city
That's why I don't volunteer for
said we
that.
don't want to have any cigarette things later, so we're sweetening this now. So I think it's
Here's
been
what I
a
needed.
wonderful time here in Brighton, and I'm so glad to be here with all you quality people.
God bless you.
Nice.
Thank you, Sue. That was
Yes.
really kind. And once I used to work at a crematorium for animals.
Oh.
And once I went for the tour of it all.
Yes.
And it was actually happening at the moment. And so I experienced it. But I want you all to know, I'm Pam, and that's not what I want you to know. I want you to know that you can help us clean up anytime you want.
Right, do we have to put on our clothes?
Bring us together. Anyway, thanks so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
And thanks to Juliet for hosting this.
Yeah.
And but we missed Moni before we
Yeah,
did
Moni.
Sally. Moni. Did you, Moni, you didn't say who you were, did you?
I don't think Sally did.
Sally didn't, yeah.
Sally said Moni before
She
me.
didn't say anything.
No.
My name's Moni. I am the farmers market manager for the Brighton Farmers Market, and I help with social media management at the chamber.
She's so wonderful too. And then there's Sally. Oh, here's me.
I'm gonna
stand up because I'm stuck down there in that hole. It feels like a good hole. It's a good hole. It's not a hole in the wall. I gotta get up and be seen. But anyway, my name is Sally Eastman, and I wear several hats. One of them, I used to work for the Chambers in 2004. So I've been with them ever since. I am a proud ambassador to the chamber, and we meet all the new members and that kind of thing. And I take pictures for the events, and I put them all together in a video, and I call it a pic vid. So the name of my business is Forget Me Not Pic Vids. And if you're interested, I got a card with a QR code that will take you right to my YouTube channel, and it will show the entire portfolio of everything that the chamber does with these events. So if you ever want to know what's going on with that, it's a good cross-section video of the event video, I call it. I'm also representing Alpha Distributing, and we're in the printing business. We do, I call them tchotchkes, but better known as giveaways. So if you want to give away koozies and pens and, oh, where'd that giant pen go? That's cool. Anyway, we do tags and labels is our main thing. We're both members, so, representing two. But, we work for big aftermarket automotive with tags and labels and things like that. So if I can do anything for you, just tag me.
Okay. Love it. Okay. Well, thank you. I know that takes us off a little bit of schedule, but it's so helpful. It's a great way to network, get to know a little bit about each other, and so a little bit about myself, because I'm learning so many fun facts about everyone else. I absolutely love going to concerts and music. My family in northern Michigan, we are big trail people. We are always out on the trails as much as we can be, all season. And I wrote a children's book called My Mommy is a Blogger. So I actually was a professional blogger until 2018, and then I sold my blog in 2018 to really launch the agency because I knew that I could do more if I wasn't solo. So that's really what it came down to. And yes, you can sell blogs. They are real estate. So. All right, so here's what we're going to cover today. We have a lot, but here's the great news. You're going to take all of this home with you. There's a QR code at the end that will link you to a folder where you can actually get a tracking document. Some of the things I'm going to talk about today, this presentation, so you don't have to feel like you have to take the notes. And if we skip something or someone asks a question and we don't cover it, you'll still have this presentation and can always follow up and ask me questions. So we're going to talk about selecting the metrics that are going to align with your goals. We're going to talk about focusing on actionable metrics versus vanity metrics, tracking your metrics, comparing your metrics, using metrics for your decision making, and of course have a question and answer. And at any time, if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand, shout it out. I really want this to be an open dialogue, not me just sitting here preaching to you. I want you to walk away with stuff that you can actually use. So if you have a question that's burning and I'm going to actually talk about that, I might say, hey, I'm going to cover that in a few slides. But I want you to make sure that you don't have to sit on your hands and wait. Or when I was teaching preschool, we'd say, put it in your pocket and save it for later. You don't have to do that today, okay? But the teacher in me might come out. So why do metrics matter? If you track the metrics, the owners can make informed decisions. So whether that's you making the decision or the small business that you're working with making the decision, so you can actually optimize, you can develop strategies, but you need those numbers. And you need those numbers so that you're spending your money wisely. How many of you right now actually are in charge of measuring the metrics for your social media? Okay. Well, anybody in here that owns a marketing agency, you're responsible for lots of clients, right? So you're in knee deep with numbers all the time, or someone on your staff is. How many of you that are actually tracking those metrics find it pretty overwhelming? Yeah? Do you use those numbers for anything specifically to make decisions?
If I'm paying for Facebook ads, for instance, I play around with different ads and
Got it.
choose what
It always surprises me how many businesses I work with who might actually look at their Facebook insights, but are surprisingly doing nothing with them, right? They look at them and they're like, oh, I saw green this month. Great. What happened next? Like, what did you use when you saw the arrows up and the green and you're doing well? Did you use those numbers to make informed decisions? Most of the time people aren't. That just makes them feel good. Metrics matter because it enables you to measure any of the goals that you've set for yourself or your team. So if you've set a goal to grow your Facebook page by X%, how do you know that's happening if you're not looking at those numbers? If you can't go back and look at the goals to see how you're doing and look at the numbers, really you're just throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what will stick, try it again next month, hoping you have good luck. I see this is a very common trend. And it's okay because if you don't know what you're looking for, it's easy to do that. Well, let's see if I can make a conclusion slide. We're done. So we're going to talk about goals. How many of you use the SMART goals section, or SMART goals system? Okay. This actual worksheet will be in the folder that I provide for you, so you can print it out and use it for your business. But really, we use SMART goals with our clients, or when we're consulting with our clients, or we're training our clients, we'll use the SMART goals because it's a pretty simple system. It doesn't work for everybody, but it's a simple system, and a lot of people have learned it in other aspects of their life as well. So if you're making sure that your metrics align with your goals, then you can see if you're making progress. We like to tell our clients we measure on a quarterly basis, but we look at the metrics on a monthly basis. So that's how at our agency we do it. I know that Rob and I had a little discussion on it when I was on the podcast, and it's one of those things that we'll report to our clients, the metrics, and I don't know if they actually understand them. So we work really hard at educating them to understand what the metrics mean, which is what we're going to talk about too. So data tells you what is or is not working. So if you're not looking at the numbers and you're not looking at the data, you're not really sure if everything that you posted that month, whether it's videos, whether it's reels, whether it's stories, if it actually works. So right before I left today, I had a client who I love her to death, but she's a high maintenance client and she loves to text me. And I think she texts me like when she's bored. And she will text me and say, why aren't we posting more reels? Reels are what's working. Why aren't we posting them? And I said, well, we are. We're posting them. But first off, you don't provide me very much to post them with, but that's another story. But because the reels aren't performing as well as your static posts. Well, that's not true. But then when I show her the data and she can see what is or is not working, then she says, okay, keep doing what you're doing. Yes, because I am using the data to make the decisions to grow your social. But if you just are doing what you think is trendy, what you think is working, and you're not using that data, you're not really sure what is or is not working. Especially when you are working with people that say, you know, we need to be on TikTok. Well, maybe, but is it going to work for your company? So we use data to really tell that story and use that to point us in the right direction. So there are different types of metrics. There's your engagement. Your engagement will be mentions, your comments, your likes, your hearts, your shares, your retweets. People that are following you, like your page, when they're engaging with you, that's what we want to see. Awareness, that's your impressions. How many eyeballs actually saw your content? There's traffic. That's how many of the social media platforms are driving traffic to your website. I think last month you guys talked about, or Google? You're going to talk? Yeah, so how many were at the Google thing? Yeah. So it's interesting, if you're actually looking at your Google analytics, you can really see, wow, Facebook is driving a lot of traffic to my website. That's data you can use to make informed decisions. Or you're spending all your time on Instagram, but it's not driving any traffic to your website, which leads to no sales or no email sign-ups or no conversion. So followers, how many followers do you have on each platform? How many people are actually reached by what you posted? And your conversion rate, the percentage of visitors or users who complete a desired action, that conversion goal. So if you had a goal of getting an increase of 5% of your traffic from Facebook, over to your website, and you want them to sign up for your newsletter, you can see if that actually converts, right? If you had an increase in newsletter signups. So there are different types of metrics. Any questions so far? You guys all measured all of these metrics? All right. But then there's a difference between actionable metrics and vanity metrics. That's the big thing. And if you work in marketing, you're very familiar with clients or your boss saying, why don't we have more fans and followers? Is that something you hear often? And I have to admit, it's something, when you see it and your numbers are big, it feels good, right? It's like, yes, I made it. But those numbers mean nothing if they're not something that leads to action. So if it doesn't lead to more newsletter signups, if it doesn't lead to more sales, if it doesn't lead to more people knowing who you are, then it's just a number. And so we really have to, with all of our clients, make sure they understand that our actionable is our engagement rate. So we want for people to be liking, commenting, following, sharing, and actually engaging with the content we post. When our engagement rate is high, that means that more people know who we are. Our message is being spread further. That if I have 10,000 Facebook followers or 10,000 Instagram fans and I post but nobody likes it, doesn't mean anything. So I can have thousands, millions. I can go ahead and buy those spammy followers and nothing will happen. And then it's not an actionable thing to measure. When actionable metrics would be my click-through rates, where it measures how many people actually click on a specific link. So if I provide a link in my Instagram profile, and I see that a lot of people are taking action by visiting my profile and then clicking over to my website, that is an actionable metric. When I say conversion rate of the percent of my people coming to my website, signing up or purchasing, that's an actionable metric. What's not actionable, what is just vanity, is really those social media account numbers, the page views, which a lot of advertisers love to sell. We will get you X number of page views. It means nothing if it doesn't lead to conversion. If there is not an increase in engagement. It's a feel-good number for sure, but it's not a number that means anything in regards to moving that needle. Email open rates. How many of you send emails? Okay. I love it when I have someone really excited that their email open rate is high. That's great that they opened it, but what happened after they opened it? Did they follow my call to action? Did they click over to my website? Did they buy what I suggested that they buy? Did they like my page so I can continue to market to them daily when I'm posting? Again, email open rate is vanity, but what isn't vanity is your click-through rate and how many you actually click in your emails. So it's really important that when you're looking at your metrics, you focus on the actionable metrics. That doesn't mean that when you have an increase in 500 Facebook fans, that you don't celebrate that. That's great. Now it's getting those 500 Facebook fans to then take action and start engaging, liking, sharing, because that's how you're going to continue to grow and reach a wider audience and hopefully sell. So which metrics will align with your goal? here, I'm just gonna we're gonna do two simple examples. So this would be like a store, a brick and mortar store, and if they had a goal for their business to increase brand awareness, they might be very specific, and we want to increase brand awareness amongst our target audience. Now we're not going to talk about like exactly how to find your target audience. It's a whole other session. And when you're marketing, you want to make sure that you're marketing to the people that will actually buy what you're selling. Hopefully all of you have determined by this stage who your target market is, so that you can really create and craft those messages that are specific to them. For example, a boutique I work with in Petoskey, their target market is definitely an older woman. And so we have to make sure that when we put out the pictures on social, we aren't putting a teen in those clothing, right? Because the older woman who wants to buy those doesn't want to see the 18-year-old body, right? They want to see what they might look like. And so you have to really know who your messaging is going towards. Measurable, they want to increase their social media followers by 20%, because that is related to awareness. The more people that they have following them, the more people that can like, follow, share, etc., and they can increase their awareness. And then they set a very measurable goal that we want to do this by, we want to also increase our website traffic by 30%. So it's not just, they're not just, when you put a measurable goal, you really want to make sure you're putting numbers, whether it's 500 or you use a percent, but you actually want to create something that you can measure. Is it achievable? Can you actually have 5,000 new fans in 3 weeks? Probably not, unless you're gonna put a large amount of money into Facebook ads. Is it relevant? Is it something that's gonna actually align with your overall company goal? And make sure it's always time bound. So then you want to track. So this is an example of actionable metrics that you would track, that you can monitor to see if it aligns. So it would be your social media followers. So you want to check every platform. You want to check your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter. Are those numbers increasing? You want to look at your Google Analytics. Do you actually see your website traffic increasing? If you don't have Google Analytics, which I hope you do, but if you don't, if you use Squarespace or Wix, they also provide metrics on the back end. So hopefully you're looking at those metrics. And do you have an increase in engagement? So do you see people liking, commenting, sharing? Because again, if you don't, then you're posting and it's kind of like shouting into the woods and nobody's listening. Do you have a reach, impression? You have to monitor that. How many people are seeing what you're posting? What is your overall reach? And then your referral traffic. Where is that traffic to your website coming from? That's something we look at every single month. We want to really make sure that we know where our traffic is coming from, because if we know where it's coming from and it's coming from Facebook, we'll spend more time on Facebook. If it's not coming from Instagram, maybe it's because we're not spending enough time on Instagram. So we use those metrics that we're collecting to point us in the right direction. An example of a restaurant wanting to increase takeout orders. They would be very specific, saying we want to increase those takeout orders by 20%. We want to track the increase in orders. We want to see an increase by 10% in online, an increase 10% by phone. So again, you're being very measurable with your goals, and then is it something that's achievable? Probably saying I want to increase 50% in 3 months, that's not achievable. But by making small strides, it's something that you can actually see wins with. Is it relevant? Is it something that aligns with your overall company objectives? So always first make those SMART goals and then measure the metrics to see if you're actually making progress in meeting your goals. Does anybody actually sit down and make the goals for what they're going to do on a quarterly basis?
Sometimes. Yeah.
Not counting the marketing people, like the agency owners, but
On an annual basis.
you do it on an annual. Yeah. Do you find on an annual basis it's too long of a time frame to to make those
Yeah,
small goals and?
it kind of is. I look at my goals on a monthly basis, my annual goals.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So to see if it's like pointing in the right direction? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't just look at it once a year. And
Got it, got it.
But I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Anybody else like in here? I saw a few no's.
On an annual.
Do it on an annual basis? If you do it on an annual basis, it's great that you're looking monthly. I would recommend maybe chunking that up to quarterly or at least 6 months. I think you're gonna find more, you're gonna achieve more if you do that and set more goals that are, you're actually going to hit those, targets for. But here's just some examples of how you can track that progress to see if you were a restaurant and you wanted to increase those online goals and those were your SMART goals that you created. You wanna look at your reach, you wanna look at your engagement rate, your click-throughs, your conversion rates, if you had a coupon code, your referral traffic. These are all actionable metrics that you would measure as a business owner. If those were your SMART goals. So just as an example, like you make sure you make your goals for your business, then what are the actionable, metrics that you would track to align with those? Then you can take it back to your team, your CEO, your board, and say, these were the SMART goals for the quarter, this is what we measured, and we actually hit this. Or we didn't hit this, maybe it wasn't actually something that, maybe our time-bound goal should have been a year, or should have been 3 months, not 6 months, and you can alter it for the next set of goals. There are lots and lots of tools and platforms for actually tracking your metrics. Google Analytics, Meta Insights, which have come a very, very long way. Buffer, Hootsuite, HubSpot, Sprout Social. Any social media tool that you schedule your stuff out has some type of metrics for measuring. Who here uses a social media tool for scheduling software? Anybody use any of these up here?
Meta.
Use Meta? Anybody else? None of these? What do you use? Loomly? Oh, Sendable, okay. That's a good one, yeah.
It's for agencies.
Yeah, it is, yeah, it's a good one. Anybody use Later? A lot of people use Later, yeah. It's clunky. Still come a long ways than what it used to be. Yeah, it's great for really Instagram. Now they've come a long ways. But there are other social media scheduling software. So, when you're, it's important to track your metrics, but to use a tool that you're comfortable with for tracking your metrics. Even if it is you manually doing it and going in there, it's important to track those metrics. There's one thing, we created a tracking system with benchmarks, and this Google spreadsheet is in the folder for you to use or share. And at the bottom tab of this Google spreadsheet actually has all of the different platforms. But we like to create benchmarks so you can see how you've done from quarter 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, and you can actually see those numbers and how you progressed. So then the client or the team can look and say, okay, quarter 1, these are our likes, our reach, our engagement, and by the quarter 4 you can see if you've made any progress. After you've been with a client or you've been with your team for a while and you've done this for 2-3 years out, you have this data and these metrics to say, well, this is where we started in 2022, now here we are in 2024, you can see how our likes have increased, our reach has increased, and you're also measuring best time of day to post, you're looking at demographics. It's a tedious process to put all of this into a spreadsheet. It does take a lot of time. However, the data really paints a really clear picture after, especially if a client stays with you for a long time. You have this data where you can look back on the spreadsheet and say, look how far we've come, or you can see seasonal trends. So,
Do you have a tip on like an easy way to pull all that
information?
There's no easy way to pull it.
Okay.
What there is though is once you choose the tool that you're using to track the metrics,
Oh, yeah.
then you have that tool, you know, on a monthly basis, at the end of the month or the beginning of the first of the month, you can pull that tool up and then manually put that in. It is tedious. However, it's very useful. So if you are like for an agency, it's a little more difficult because you might have like lots of clients to do that for. So there's certain ways you can do it. You can have your account manager be their responsibility. You can assign somebody who, you know, actually works on the strategy to do that each month. But if it's just a solo person for a business, it's a much easier task to do this. That's why I recommend it for small businesses. If it's just for your small business and it's the first thing you do at the last Friday of every month, it just becomes part of your routine. And if you are presenting this to a board, or if you have grant funding. So this is really important for the nonprofits we work with. The nonprofits that we work with, if they get marketing dollars for a grant, this is all information they can submit for their grant reporting or to get a grant. So it has been very helpful for grant writing. The other thing, like I was saying with trends, that's really interesting is on a seasonal basis, because we live in northern Michigan, we have trends that happen because right now is our busy season up north, right? So if you're coming up north, Rob, please bear with the traffic. It's hellacious, right? So, I mean, it's really, really bad. And you're going to Lebanon, so there's a lot of construction. But, so we'll meet, like we have a pizza shop, for example. We've had them for 5 years. Every January and February, the owners are like, oh my God, the phone's not ringing. Why aren't we getting da-da-da-da? We pull up the spreadsheets. This happens every January, February, March. Like, it's just the cycle, it's the season, right? And now they can expect it. Like, we know this is coming. This is a great time to take your vacation. We know we have these trends happening. So this is really a great tracking system with benchmarks. Again, I'm gonna provide it to you. Feel free to use it, feel free to share it, feel free to steal it. It's really a great use. And there's a QR code for you. So I talked a little bit about why data is important. And for me, one of the most important things for data is it helps us make decisions. If we're gonna spend more money, if we're gonna apply for grants, if we are going to continue on a platform, if we're going to use Facebook advertising, but I don't know that if I don't have the numbers. And I can't present to my client or to my boss, hey, I think we need this budget if I don't give them numbers. So, for example, content optimization. If I have a lot of website traffic going to certain pages on my website, I can use that data to realize these 5 pages on my website are the top 5 pages visited every year. These pages need to be optimized with calls to action, exactly what we do. They need to be user-friendly. I can actually have a plan to optimize those pages that are performing really, really well. If I have a blog, I can make sure that these are my top 10 blog posts for the year. I need to make sure that content is optimized. Do I have a call to action to sign up for my email list? Am I having a link to sell a product in that blog post? And when you can do this for a client and that web traffic is high every single month for these blog posts and these web pages, and then all of a sudden their email lists start increasing, the signups. Their product sales increase because you've added the links. You're actually monetizing those pages. You have a happy client or a happy business. You can optimize your advertising campaigns, but again, you have to know the numbers. You have to look at the data. We have clients that are very happy to say, here's a $500 budget every month, run ads, but I could run those, but if I'm not looking at the numbers to make sure that they're optimized each month, that I'm getting the lowest, cost per click, then I'm wasting the money. So you need to make sure that you're looking at those numbers so you can optimize your advertising campaign, or realize, hey, I'm not getting the leads and I'm spending $25 a lead. Maybe that's not a good use of my money. Your marketing campaign, if you actually see click-through rates, if you can identify which channels are leading to conversions, then you can spend more time on those channels. Like I was saying with this story of the client that messaged me today, we use that data to show her, we could come out and charge you to make reels and do that, but that's actually not what's working for your business. But if I didn't provide that data, then I wouldn't have convinced her otherwise. And we would have gone down the rabbit hole of doing things that weren't gonna work for her business, or at least not drive home sales. And really, which marketing channels are your highest performing? A lot of people wanna be on every single social media channel there is. They feel like they have to be. But if that's not where their target market is, that's not where they should be spending their time. And you can actually waste a lot of time creating content for multiple channels. If those channels aren't actually driving traffic to your site or sales, then you shouldn't be on those channels. Spend time where you see results, where the numbers are pointing you to. And don't feel like you have to opt into every single platform. Listen to, the numbers. Really, the goal is to turn data into information and information into insight. And so we use data every day. It's part of our world. But I really think if more small businesses understood the numbers a little bit more and they looked at them and then they tracked them and they had those benchmarks, even if you just start fresh this month and you start measuring month to month to month, you'll start to see where the trends are going up and down. You'll start to see what is and isn't working. And then when you make your marketing plan at your annual meeting, you'll be able to say, this was what worked, and here are the numbers to prove it, and this is where we're gonna allocate our time, our resources. We need a staff person for this. How many people feel like they are doing social media and that's not their job? Anybody here? I hear this a lot from people. I took it on, I absorbed it because my boss just thinks I'd be really good at it. Or I said, sure, I'll do it because it looks fun and I'm always on Facebook, right?
We have a company, but I feel like I'm still doing it for the company that we're doing it for.
Well, you need to switch to someone in this room.
That's what I'm saying, yes.
I'm telling you.
It's like, I'm like the content, everything, yes, I'm like, it's ridiculous,
Yeah,
so.
you shouldn't be doing that, right? Like the whole point of hiring a company is yes. And they might be the company for you, that's fine. I'm not the company for a lot of people, it's okay. But there are a lot of people who social media falls on their plate. It's just absorbed, it's something they do, and they do it because their boss told them to, or they feel like they are good at it, but they're not looking at the insights, they're not tracking the metrics, and so then they don't know what's working and not working. And if you don't know what's working and not working, you can't go to your boss and say, this brought in X dollars of sales for us, we had this much conversion, you need to hire somebody. You can't get somebody hired or off, put that job off to someone else or get an agency involved if you can't prove the numbers. So if you're feeling overwhelmed right now with not knowing if this is for you, start tracking those numbers to see how you can get someone else to do that job for you. You need the numbers. So, all right. Scan the QR code. You'll get the presentation. You'll get a SMART Goals worksheet. You'll get the tracking guide. Also some social media tips. But anybody, questions, marketing pros, chime in, please.
Questions, anybody? Go ahead.
So I do our social media for our company, and a lot of the reason I do it myself, I could certainly farm it out to somebody else, but I feel like if we're going to come across as authentic in ourselves and it's important for us to come across to our customers that way, it's important that it's kind of our words that are coming across. I could see us going that route when we get busier, I guess, as it gets to be more for.
It's really easy to
Yeah.
say that right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're still small, you know. It's just like 4 of us running the company and whatnot. But my question for you was this: like earlier in the presentation, you touched on website visitors as like a vanity metric, and I always kind of thought of it like if I've got a lot of website visitors and I'm not converting or they're not clicking through, I mean, doesn't that tell me that I kind of have a crappy website and it's not
It doesn't
converting well?
necessarily mean you have a crappy website. It could mean your website isn't optimized. It
Okay.
could mean that you don't have the call to action front and center. If a visitor has to spend more than 30 seconds, more than 3 clicks,
Right.
you lost them, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean you have a crappy website. It might mean you just need to do a better job with your offer. You might need a pop-up, you might not, but you might need to just do some optimization. So don't really throw the website out right away. Optimize it first. But of course, I mean, anyone here can give you an honest opinion and say, yeah, yes or no, but are you getting a lot of website traffic?
Well, like, so we when we first got going, we hired a rookie digital marketer, and they put our website together on Wix and everything, and I was seeing a lot of traffic to the website, but I wasn't seeing a lot of conversion, and that's the reason we switched marketing companies. And now it's a whole different ballgame. Like, we've got a different company, and we're doing a lot better with conversions, but that was a valuable metric to me in the time, and that's the way I looked at it. I was like, well, like, obviously she didn't optimize things, and I don't have a good call to action, and that's not my expertise, but I knew based on some of my other folks.
Did you know where your website traffic was coming from?
It was a lot from Facebook, very little from the stuff that she didn't have our metadata right on our pages. There was a lot of things that were just like rookie stuff, you know.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is you might have had a lot of website traffic coming from Facebook, but your Facebook fans weren't the right demographic either. So if you're not marketing to the right demographic, that's tough.
That makes sense, yeah.
You know.
Okay, thank you.
But I do want to touch on what you said about like being authentic and having like it should come from you. It is a struggle that some people have because you're intimately involved with your business. You know the day in and out. It's your passion. It's your baby, right? Yeah. So it's really hard to hand that off and be like, talk about me, market me, right? Because it's yours.
Well, a lot of our customers call us, like they'll tell us, like, oh, we feel like we already know you because, like, oh, we've been following you for a while, you know, we see your posts, so we kind of like that.
And that might be where if you use the data and you can justify hiring someone else internally, that might be a way. But if you have those numbers, then you can justify hiring someone internally or even part-time to handle that. And I mean, I don't always recommend everybody go to an agency. Like sometimes it really is best for it to be internal. And we train internal employees all the time so that they can do their best job. But a lot of the agencies that I work with, and I can't speak to everyone here, but when we pair an account manager with a business, they become like an extension of your business. They spend time with you, they're in the truck with you, they intimately begin to know your business.
It'd be cool to have a marketer in the truck with me. You have to get down with that.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes our account manager who does sewer and drain doesn't love that part of the job.
50 pounds, all right.
That's what I'm saying.
It's also nice able to collab it as well.
Yeah.
Or like you and the marketing
Google
company
Docs.
together
So
to create
online.
content and messaging because a lot of the work comes into what can you provide ahead of time versus and then what can they do to support you. So a lot of what we do is collaborative.
Okay.
Like and a lot of the other things is like well, what else do you need? The data kind of helps you know like what content is doing well, what isn't, and then like being able to create more content from that. So like and it's just about having a system in place to share content and get the right prompts in place so that you can give them what they need in addition to what you're doing, especially as you get busier or like I always joke the best time to post is probably when you're busiest. So it allows for you to kind of have that presence when you're not present.
Okay.
Rob,
Yeah.
Jason, you guys wanna?
We have a question up here really quick.
Real quick question. So, I have 2 target markets, and business is on my LinkedIn page, and then on my Facebook page, I target individuals.
Okay.
So it's tough, right? So I do training, mindfulness training basically to individuals, and then resilience training to businesses.
To businesses.
So how, like,
Well, you have to
It's
think
almost
all
like I
of
got
those.
two identities.
Well, you have to think all of those all of those businesses have individuals working for them.
Mhm.
So when you're marketing to them on Facebook, they're as their individual, their person, but then they can recommend it to their business. So even though you do have a cross section and you will have different messaging, don't forget that all the people that are in the business are also individuals.
Yeah, so it makes it tough, so I'm trying to kind of.
Yeah, you're crafting your message a little different.
I'm
Yeah.
upping my Facebook to more professionals, I guess, even though it's individuals, like,
Yeah.
you know, for their own personal development training.
Yeah.
You could think of it like a restaurant. A restaurant serves people individually in small groups, but then they also do like a renter space for catering or this big event or holidays and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's crafting the individual experience and then tailoring like 1 in 5 messages or whatever, or your other marketing to talk to the groups that could be more high ticket items.
Yeah, and if you have like a content plan with content pillars, you can make sure like every third post is geared toward the business and every, you know, it can help you kind of create that.
On both.
Yeah,
both.
exactly, to create that cadence for yourself.
Because on my website, obviously, I have, you know, workplace and I have,
Yep.
you know, training programs,
Yeah.
upcoming classes, if that
Yeah.
makes sense, but I haven't really figured to how to merge. the
Creating that,
two.
yeah, it's creating that cadence of posts so that you're reaching each audience,
Okay,
you know.
thank you.
But anybody else like chime in?
Go ahead, yeah, one and
Let me drink water.
Something I recommend that I was actually telling a gentleman that I was meeting with yesterday, not just keeping it simple, but really know your target audience when you're trying to attract people to your social media and website. And especially know the tools that you're actually utilizing. So you don't need to use every platform of social media, just keep it simple. So in this case, this gentleman I was working with he uses Facebook and Instagram primarily, and right away just going over his tactics, I'm just like, well, are you tagging locations? Are you thinking about like really where your target audiences are? Because right now, I realized he wasn't familiar with even the tools. So I was giving him one-on-one tutorial because that can make a huge difference in really honing into your target audience versus, again, throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks. So
Yeah, if you don't know who you're talking to, then that's where you start. So I mean, we could do a whole session on choosing your target market and persona is huge. I mean, yes, but once you have your target market and you have your persona, it's so much easier to decide which platform to be on and then how to craft messages to them.
To be reassuring to those in the room that aren't marketers, just remember like it's not a problem if you don't know how to do it. Like we all are skilled in our craft. Like you're great at what you do, you're great at what you do, but then you also are just expected to do marketing too. Like that wasn't in the training module for whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
So don't
A lot of
feel
people
bad
just put
if
that
you
hat on. They just
and then on top of it, what this is with social, it's always changing. I've been doing this for 14 years and it's a constant change.
Yes.
Thank you for saying that.
Oh yeah, it gets really overwhelming. Like I'm overwhelmed with this, is my job. So I mean, you can't beat yourself up if you can't do it all, or you do something wrong, or you don't know what you're doing, or you feel lost.
Yeah.
To piggyback from what JJ said, so many people are not using the basic tools. And I've had so many people ask me, or they've paid for LinkedIn Navigator for a year, and they're not using the basic free tools that they have to search, the searches and the filters and looking at the analytics. There's some in-depth analytics that you get. And then they go pay for this thing that they're never going to use. Like, there's so many free features that you can use.
Well, that's what I say with like Google Business, for example. A lot of people will say, I want to do Google Ads. Let's first use Google Business Profile, all the free that Google's providing before we put any money and give them any money. Because Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, they will take your money and they won't care if it bankrupts you.
Yeah.
They just won't. So you have to think about that. What are you using that's free, that's provided to you? Optimize that, use that first before you give anybody $1.
That's probably the biggest warning starting out.
It really is.
Do not use Google Ads.
Well, I'm not saying don't use them. I'm totally for it.
Not when you're first starting out.
No,
There's
but there's a lot of free stuff first. Yes.
I would also say don't do it yourself.
Don't do it yourself. Yes.
Brenda, to piggyback off of that, so I had someone at one of my other offices, a gentleman next door that did a big mistake like that, and I'm just like, how much did you spend? And he goes, $10,000.
Oh,
Just like, please tell me you
man.
got something. And the answer,
No.
oh.
How many in the room are nonprofits? Okay, use the Google nonprofit ads. It provides up to $10,000 a year free ads.
Oh.
That was worth coming
Yeah.
today, right?
Wow.
And it works wonders.
What is this nonprofit?
Yep, go to Google nonprofit and you apply, and they provide nonprofits up to $10,000 in Google ads a year. So the Habitat for Humanity in northern Michigan, Northwest, they use it very well.
Okay.
So yeah, you can talk to them about it too. But.
Rob?
It's amazing.
So I only have one major thing that I think about a lot is most businesses are deathly terrified of talking about money when it comes to analytics, and I can't focus on it enough. If the marketing that you're paying for isn't scaling and growing the business effectively, if you're not talking about ROI from paid and organic marketing, you're wasting your time and money on analytics. We could talk about impressions all day long. What I want to talk about is what is the content that you're creating, and is it driving more business? Is it scaling the company forward? If it's not, we really need to rethink that strategy. But really, all these analytics make sure that ROI is front and center to make sure that it's actually moving the business forward. I had a company, I consulted for a radio station a few years ago, and one of their existing people told me how awesome it was that they had 50,000 impressions on a particular ad. And I was like, well, what's your frequency? And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, how many times is one person seeing that ad? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I'll have to go look it up. The answer was 1,000.
That's your reach. So your reach is how many one individual seeing it. Your impressions, they can see it 50 million
Which
times.
means 50 people saw that ad. It was so narrow. They saw it on loop for a year, upwards of 1,000 times.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's annoying.
Right.
It isn't.
Well, the point is, you don't have if you're not looking at all those numbers, your impressions, your reach, and your frequency all together, then you don't really have a whole picture of how well the ad is being stretched.
So what is what impressions are what compared to reach?
Reach is the single number of people, it's the individuals, it's like an IP address.
So if 1,000,
So for example,
individuals.
if I put a sign out in front of my store and 5 people walked by it, and they went around the block 3 times, my impressions would be 15, and my reach would be 5.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where your goals really
That's a
matter.
great
Then
answer.
like,
Clicks would be, they walked in the door.
they walk, exactly, yeah.
Nice.
But if you don't have goals, like, if your goal is brand awareness, your ROI is gonna be different than if your goal is purchases. So you have to keep your goals in mind. So a lot of people will start out with, I just want more people to know about who I am. I just opened a business, I need more people to know I exist, what I offer. We have a sewer and drain company that we work with, not the funnest content to post, I have to tell you, right? And they don't get a lot of engagement. I mean, unless we post something, that's, I wish we wouldn't have posted, but it's the traction. But they just want to be front and center, front of mind when someone has a sewer and drain emergency. So we're not looking for high engagement for them. So what we measure for them is different than what we measure for someone who's selling something online. That's completely different. So your goal might not be what your neighbor's goal is. So keep that in mind too, and don't feel like, well, their goal is to do this. Well, they have different, they have different goals in mind. They sell different products, they sell different services. So they're gonna want something different. So keep that in mind too, like if you go to a conference or you're with other nonprofits.
Any tips from the marketing people here for the folks who are either like small business owners that don't have the budget, maybe for a marketing person, as far as to make it easier to get this information? Like Google Analytics piece, that's easy, right? They do a great job of pulling it out. But to try to pull it, to get that data from your Facebook, from your Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever that you're using, it feels a little bit more labor intensive to me for somebody who's owning a
It is,
small
but
business.
like
and
Meta does a
everything
really
else.
good job now. Like
Who does?
Meta, like
Oh.
they've come a long way. If you go into your insights, right there, you'll see your reach impressions, all of that. So you can they give you the numbers and you're just plugging them in a spreadsheet. And then you can see the compare and contrast. But I mean, if you don't use a scheduling tool, because Meta provides scheduling if you're just doing Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, there's two tremendous applications I invite all of you to look at. So if you can't afford an agency, you don't want to go down that route, that's super cool. There's two apps to look at. One is called Dash This, and the other is called Agency Analytics. Both of them offer small tier dashboards for companies, and you can tie all of your applications into one system. Google Analytics, Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn, advertising, everything. You can even link custom data from Google Sheets into the program, and it can batch reports for you every month. So we use Agency Analytics. We have all of our clients on it. It's excellent.
We use Dash This.
Yeah, and they're both
I
both
don't
great.
usually recommend it to individual businesses, only because the people that I have recommended it to felt a little overwhelmed by the setup process of it. But I have realized of late that the Dash This team will help you walk you through that. So if you are a small business and you do use Dash This, they will help you, and then you can see the rolling data. You can see it on a quarter-to-quarter basis if you don't want to manually, but it costs money.
But sometimes it's the time, at least in my experience, I know the hard part is when you're a small business owner, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have the time, but sometimes if you just spend a little bit more time up front to actually learn, to your point, to learn how to use the software, then it saves you time in the long run of trying to constantly gather it from everywhere.
Yeah, I think one of them is like $50 a month, and for me, an hour of my time is worth far more than that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Great tip.